of the Village of Lake Orion Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Roll call, please.
Matheson,
Here.
Putz,
Here.
Balo,
Here.
Laurent,
Here.
Shaker Crawford. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item, approval of agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to the approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item, first call to the public for non-agenda items. And I don't think anybody's here for a non-agenda item, so we'll move on. Next item, approval of the minutes. Approval of November 6, 2025 BZA regular meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the BZA minutes from November 6, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is handling of the cases. First, we'll have the presentation by the planner or staff of project information, then the presentation by the petitioner, receipt of public comments, recommendation from the planner, and board deliberation and action. Then I will entertain a motion to open to public hearing.
We do not have a public hearing this evening.
We do not, okay. Okay, on to new business. Adopt the 2026 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting schedule.
I make a motion to approve the schedule.
I'll second. Any questions? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business. Case number A-25-005, 256 South Broadway Street, dimensional variance request.
I would like to make a motion to untable A-25-005 -256 South Broadway Street, dimensional variation request.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and second. Is there support? Or
We got a second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. It is open. So,
Second hearing open to the public.
I'm going to go to recap? Okay,
Okay,
sure.
thank you. Good evening, board members. Laura Ha with McKenna. I understand that this project was presented at the November meeting. You have the same planning report in your packet. So I'll briefly go through some of these observations and findings and add a couple. In your packet is some additional information as well that the applicant has provided, a written statement. This variance request is 256 South Broadway Street. The request is for a variance to the waterfront setback. They are requesting an 11-foot, 5-inch variance from the minimum setback in order to finish constructing their patio and pergola area. The property is zoned the mixed-use district, which this use, not just the restaurant, but the offering of outdoor seating and dining is aligned with the intent of the mixed-use district. And it also makes use of the mixed-use district on the waterfront. Lake Orion is obviously one of the village's most beautiful and defining assets. And this mixed-use zoning designation in this location was intended to maximize that. In terms of the variance standards, other findings include allowing the variance would allow the pergola to be constructed, which would provide, of course, shelter for patrons and improve their dining experience. And the applicant has stated that they have tried more temporary shading of the patio, and that has not been an effective measure. The proposed pergola does not impact the neighboring views, and the applicant has offered to provide some additional screening around the patio area, which would help soften this and create a more natural look against the waterfront. This property is unique in that this is the only restaurant on Lake Orion. It is also, while the construction of the patio was done by the current owner, the footprint of the building was not self-created. That is something that is a difficulty that the applicant is working with. They cannot change reasonably the footprint of the structure and still have the outdoor dining along the waterfront. One other fact to mention is that the intent of the zoning district, or zoning ordinance, excuse me, is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And I think in this situation, this dimensional variance request does not detract from the intent of your zoning code. It does not impair the public health, safety, or welfare. And there are unique circumstances to this case that was just pointed out, that if you were to make a motion to approve the pergola this evening, then I would recommend that you would include such unique findings in your motion as to not create a precedent. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add just a little bit more information.
Please.
That I just was able to locate today in our computer system and the township's computer system. But there were some questions at your last hearing about any documentation as far as what actions our former planning and zoning coordinator, Gage Belko, had undertaken regarding this matter. And I wanted to clarify for you what we do have documented. So in our computer system, we went to a new online web-based computer system for permit applications, not just zoning applications, but many other applications. And on May 13th of this year, the applicant had submitted an online request for a permit for an outdoor service-only bar at this site. And it was indicated that the bar was about 176 square feet, 11 by 16, within the rear waterfront setback area. The patio will include outdoor seating, potted landscaping, and other improvements. The Gage reviewed that application, and that application was approved by both Gage and myself on June 18th. There were conditions to that permit. The applicant shall apply for a variance in no less than 30 days for the relief from the waterfront setback requirement of 25 feet for the purpose of constructing an outdoor bar at the rear of the property. This application requires a detailed plot plan or survey as well as construction drawings. If the necessary variance or variances is or are not achieved within 60 days, the applicant shall modify the location, size, and/or dimensions of the bar to comply with current zoning ordinance standards. Number two, the use of the outdoor bar shall be service only outdoor preparation of food and drink or commercial properties is strictly prohibited. Number 3, the applicant shall provide additional screening of the bar from view of the lake, potted plants, arborvitae, and/or other landscaping solutions are preferred. Additional improvements beyond those described within the plans shall be reviewed and permitted separately. The applicant shall notify the village of any changes to the conditionally approved project. Again, that permit was approved on June 18th. That same day, the applicant applied for a second permit for the pergola. The day that the first permit was approved, the applicant submitted a second application for the pergola. That permit application was denied by Gage Belco on, let's see. It was denied on June 26th. And Gage gave his reasons for denying it. Basically, the fact that, well, I'll read it to you. The applicant must provide dimensions and setbacks for the proposed pergola. A detached accessory structure that is supported by columns without walls and that has at least 75% of the area of all of its vertical planes open to light and air shall be permitted to be located less than 25 feet, but no less than 10 feet from the water lot line and edge of Lake Orion. Such structure shall not exceed 12 feet and 6 inches in height, measured from grade to roof ridge, or exceed 175 square feet of total assembled area. The application was for 176 square feet. An ornamental, non-illuminated spire or decoration shall be allowed atop, provided it is less than 4 inches in diameter and less than 5 feet in additional height. So Gage denied the application for the pergola on June 26th. The other record I've been able to identify is the building permit application that the applicant submitted to the township. And the township received that application on August 12th. The application was for a pergola, 176 square feet detached bar pergola on the west side of the building exterior. My understanding from my conversations with the building official at the township is that the building permit was never approved. However, they had started construction already on the pergola, and so the building department did do some inspections on that, but there was never an approved permit for the pergola. Mr. Chairman, if it's okay that I present copies of these documents, come up there to
Yes, please.
provide copies. And I present this information simply so that the Board of Zoning Appeals has a more complete record of what transpired as you give your consideration to the applicant's application and whether or not they meet the criteria for granting of a variance. Thank you.
Can we ask questions?
Because we are shared, at least in this decision with the township.
I'm sorry, can you speak into the microphone? I
Sorry.
can't hear.
Because we are shared in the decision on this with the township, I'm, as part of the presentation of the planner and the staff and the project information, I also heard in the audience, we have the township ordinance officer, and I would like to call him up and ask questions. Is that possible? You have the township ordinance, folks? Thank you.
Which mic?
Either one.
Either one, pick one.
Hi, David Goodlow, 5635 Meadow Lane, Dryden Township, building official.
Yeah,
We had,
He's, yeah, he is. Why are we just getting this now? Why couldn't Mario find it? I mean, I would have liked to have known, I would have liked to have had this.
I apologize, we're having a technical problem here, so just please speak extra loud so that everybody can hear you.
proceed.
Yeah,
We had, well, obviously, we're going to have the petitioner come up and speak next. The big one that we had and we had understood was that Gage had a meeting on site, and the township was also part of that meeting. And it sounded like, and we'd asked for documentation on this, on how they were allowed to actually move forward and get permitted, which it sounds like maybe they weren't. But at the same time, how are we having the township go out and actually review the construction without any sort of permit? And they said, well, we had permitting, Gage had said yes, the township had said yes, and they were moving forward, and yes, they were getting the inspections, the little pretty green stickers that said, we can move forward and keep going. So I'd like to know where we were at in that process, and if you were part of that?
yes, I was part of that. I was at a meeting in mid-June with Gage and the applicant. We did speak about the outdoor service bar, and there was a variance request that was needed for that. During that meeting, Gage did give a verbal approval to build a pergola that wasn't attached. Now, that was the big kicker, that it could not be attached to the building. So in the spirit of working with the applicant, and this is something that is a reason of why I do what I do, is I'm customer service friendly. I try to work with businesses to make sure that we give them the best chance to succeed. So in order, we'd catch up the paperwork, right? That's how I was like it, because they needed to get shade over this and be able to use it. And I was under the assumption after leaving that meeting that they could do it. I ended up waiting for the application. We didn't receive it because there was some back and forth. I finally did send Gage an email, and he said, nope, this project has been put on hold and needs to go to a variance. One thing I do want to point out is that when we talk about variances, I deal with variances all the time in my township. A lot of times they come after the fact, after things are built, and we do try to look at that because we don't want things built prior to getting approval. Now, all that set aside, when you look at something, we look at it for a practical difficulty or a hardship. That's what I think we need to look at here. I was under the assumption that I'm fully responsible for helping them move along and get those inspections, because I was under the assumption that we were going to get the paperwork. Because during this time, I'll be honest with you, the village is not very good at responding. It takes several weeks. And I'm not going to sit by and let people wait all this time while they're losing revenue and time. I'm sorry. It's not what I was put in my position for. So I tried to work with them, and then it all blew up. Understood. We stopped, they stopped, and they've been sitting here since we couldn't even get emails and stuff responded to, and they stopped, and now we're sitting here today in December after we started this process in June. So I tried to do my part as a township official to make sure that building's safe. I know it does not affect any health, safety, egress paths, and the variance request is in line with practical difficulties, in my opinion, as a health, safety, and welfare official, that it's not a danger to the public. Because I wanted to make sure we'll catch up that paperwork and we'll make sure that building's safe. So that's why I did do inspections and I did work it. I did deny the permit once in August because I obviously had noticed that we required a variance on this. On that application that you did see, when you, that Darwin gave you, when you give approval in a zoning compliance permit, a variance should never be a contingency. It says in our contract with the township and the village that you can't forward anything to us unless a variance is approved. So that kind of starts the ball in a bad direction, right? At the end of the day, we're trying to work with our businesses and make them successful. This is a property on the water that the inherent right of the water is to sit on the water. When you go out there in June, good luck. You're not sitting on that water. When you go out there in the winter, good luck. And it's still beautiful in the winter. So I'm not here to, talk about that. I made sure it's safe. I hold some culpability in this, absolutely. But because of the way I handle my customer service, I honestly, when I left that meeting, thought that we were good to go and we just had to catch up paperwork. Yes.
So is there a permit?
A current permit,
Was there ever a permit applied for?
applied for, yes.
Okay, and that permit, the only permit that was ever applied for, was denied because you realized then they did not have the variance, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Up until-
we will not issue a permit without an approval.
But up until then, there was no permit applied for at the township, nor issued?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
You
of
had
course.
also mentioned that part of the denial was that the pergola could not be attached to the building.
That was the big kicker on it, and that's,
You have currently been out there and inspected, obviously.
yes.
Is it attached to the building?
No.
Okay.
No, and I do believe that the reasoning behind that is because you're residential, you're allowed to do a residential detached accessory structure within those setbacks, but not commercial. And I think that's where the mix-up was on the on-site meeting.
Okay, so the information that you gave to them, and they walked out with, that this was a go, and that you approved it and Gage was approving it, and we were just waiting for the paperwork to catch up?
That's what I was doing, yes, sir. And I just kind of want to just reiterate that, I don't think any of us are on trial for an unpermitted structure. I mean, we're working on that. I think the thing is here now, you got to look at the facts of the case, the property as itself, and what practical difficulties the property shows. I think I saw the presentation. I think it outlines a pretty good case for practical difficulty. That's just my opinion. Obviously, your board have to make this decision. That's just mine. But it does not mess with any health, safety, or welfare of the property itself.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yes.
At that meeting, after that meeting,
Yes.
when Gage verbally approved it, and then you moved forward, as you said, with customer service and to,
Yes.
hasten the completion or beginning of this, if there had been a permit applied for then, based on that meeting, would the township have approved it?
I would have approved it based on your approval.
Okay,
Because I always have to have approval. I had a verbal, so that was good enough for me.
Right.
And moving forward, and I discussed at length with the applicant about how it should look, and they gave me plans, and I did get plans.
Right.
But I never got the actual permit application because it goes to the village first, right? But I had plans that I could inspect off of that I would approve, so
Okay.
yes, Mary.
All right, good.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we'll have the presentation of the petitioner, if they have anything else.
Once
to
again,
add.
come up and present.
Talk loud.
I don't think this is the petition.
Good evening. A petitioner has asked me to proceed initially. Matthew Gibb, 118 North Broadway. As the DDA Executive Director, we've worked very closely with the business, and this we're involved as well. Ms. Ha has set forth in her report the need to create some findings of fact and any consideration you're going to have here. And so just by way of background, I also am an attorney that's done nothing but land use and government work for 33 years now on these issues.
Can all of you hear him in the back?
So I just want to make a few points. I'll speak up,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Moran, thanks. So I just want to make a few points, and not looking backwards as to what happened to get us here, but as Mr. Goodlow has pointed out, what can you consider both under the law and the facts here? So one is the pergola that's in question is detached from the building, and whether it's a residential code or not is not as important of the fact that the law provides that it's an accessory structure to the building that does not alter the permitted use. As Ms. Ha pointed out, the permitted use of the property was previously approved by the village. That restaurant was approved, the outdoor seating areas were approved, the construction of those areas were approved, which creates a footprint for the back of that building, for the west side of that building. And so the first thing that's very, very important is to consider a variance for the pergola is whether there's a variance at all even required. Now, the interpretation is that there's a preference that a variance be considered, but there's a very strong argument that as an accessory use to the back of the building, whether it's needed or not. So you move on from there, that the strict application of the ordinance then, if you apply that, because the pergola itself is only going to cover the previously approved area of the project. This isn't a new area, this isn't a greenfield, it's not a new construction. It's covering the previously approved footprint. So you say, well, the strict application of the ordinance, what does that do? And that's the practical difficulty that results in a hardship in the imposition. Because the existing outdoor gathering space was already constructed pursuant to approval and permitting within its approved location, the placement of the pergola by moving that back to the strict compliance with the ordinance would essentially de facto deny the right that they gained by that outdoor gathering space. So you're in a little bit of this weird area. And I suspect that's why Gage, when it came to a decision if the pergola were going to be detached, making it an accessory use and an accessory structure, it changes the interpretation. If this was an attached outdoor room to increase the dining space, it would be a change of the permitted use. I think Ms. Hall would agree, and my good colleague, Mr. McClary, would agree that's a different application. So you have findings of fact that this accessory structure covering the existing approved outdoor gathering space by doing strict or applying strict adherence to the ordinance would be an immediate practical difficulty. It would be an undue burden placed on this particular unique property, as she's already identified the unique nature of it. The required variance, the minimum necessary setback to achieve this would allow the permitted use. And this is really important as a finding of fact because time after time again over the last 50, 70 years in Michigan, where you're not seeking to expand an existing use and you're trying to create the minimum application of the permitted use, then it really qualifies that the strict adherence, again, takes away that right to that permitted use. It establishes the proportionality of the minimal impact. Putting the pergola over the footprint is the minimal impact. Applying the strict adherence to the ordinance automatically creates a hardship. Granting the variance preserves the spirit and intent and the purpose of the ordinance. As Ms. Hall went through, this is about protecting open space, preserving the waterfront, maintaining the environmental buffer. So what does the pergola do and not do? It does not extend the physical footprint of the building in any way, shape, or form. The physical footprint of the building is the original defined approved site plan area. It is that outdoor public gathering space in the back of the building. If they wanted to extend this out over the water, if they wanted to extend it to the neighbor property, it's a different application. The pergola is setting over top of an existing permitted use area. And so it does not extend the physical footprint toward the water. It preserves all of the open space at grade. It is visually permeable. It does not obstruct any view. It's reversible and non-intrusive. And this is very important. The pergola can be removed. It's not a permanent structure. It may look like it is, but it's not a permanent structure. It's not a brick and mortar. It's interpreted differently by the permitting structure of Mr. Goodlow and the entire process, and it promotes safe and orderly use of the property. So here's the last thing, and it does go into effect by many, many court decisions in Michigan, is that the applicant relied in good faith on what happened. And so when an applicant relies in good faith on something that happens and a strict interpretation and imposition of an ordinance against that property would create this hardship, then it has the added effect of what was talked about at the last meeting, is there is a substantial burden that's placed upon the property owner. That's where you get this kind of conversion of, well, is this just a practical difficulty, or is this really truly a hardship that's been imposed on this property? So I do believe, as it wraps up with the alarm, that there's several things that you can find as finding a fact here that would support just the granting of a variance for the existing of it. I know it's very aggravating to say, oh, they started without a permit, they did these things. I'll be the first to attest, in the township and in the village, 80 or 90% of the project work that happens in this community is not done illegally or with any ill intent. It's done on these multiplicity of conversations. The conversations that happened about what can we do and how does it get approved and how can we get the right paperwork in and how do we proceed on that. But I can't implore enough that from a legal standpoint, that imposing a strict application of this dimensional variance against this pergola, whether it's started or not started, is completely contrary to the existing conditions there. It would eliminate a permitted use for the balance of the waterfront on what had already been approved and built under permit, which is the outdoor gathering space on the Waterside Social Restaurant. And so you have at your hand an immediate hardship, an immediate relational ability to give a variance, and any justification to say how is this unique was set forth in Ms. Hawes' report, with the visibility and the ability to build and complete this structure without any due burden on adjacent or neighboring properties. Who else could take advantage of this? You always worry about that. Is this something that will be cycled now? Every property will be. I have yet to see another restaurant on Lake Orion, so we'll cross that bridge someday. If we ever have that happen, this is as unique comes. So I offer all of that. I did submit a report through the clerk's office that'll be made part of the record tonight, and I would cede to the petitioner if he has things that he'd like to add.
Thank you.
Evening. Doug Jones, 1257 Lakeshore Boulevard.
Chris Dewey, 958 Hemlock Drive, Oxford.
Hi, Lisa Sell, 334 Prairie Lane, Lake Orion.
Again, as Dave and others have said here, Matt kind of summed up, just a quick summary, just to put that all under wraps. This whole project started March 18th in this building here with Lisa and Gage and Dave Goodlow to review the idea of building a pergola and outdoor bar. Over the next few weeks and months, there was communications back and forth discussing that further. There was a Zoom call that we had set up in early June, and then we had an on-site meeting June 17th, which has been the discussion a lot so far. Again, at that meeting, we understood after leaving the meeting that we had to apply for variance, which we did the next day, for a 5-foot setback for the outdoor service bar, but nothing for the pergola because it was unattached, and since it was unattached, we did not have to apply for a variance. We received the approval from both township and from the village to move forward. We did submit the building application the next day, June 18th, and then it wasn't until later that we understood we had to change the variance when Mario got involved. Yes, sir.
Between May 13th was the original for the bar. May 17th was the on-site visit.
June 17th.
Or June 17th,
Correct.
yes. June 18th was, we came back for the second portion. When did you guys actually start building?
That following week, so after June 18th. I don't know exactly when, but
Yeah, it was probably within a week or so.
within a week or so of that on-site meeting.
Well, the reason I asked is because it was mentioned that on June 26th, the pergola permit was denied. That's why I asked when you actually started building.
I don't know that we ever received like an actual denial, because we didn't, not that I recall.
Okay. I wrote it down as somebody, one of the.
Yeah, I did
Darren
hear
read
that
it.
as well,
Darren said
but
it in the paperwork that he handed us.
I don't
I'm
know.
just- I'm
I
writing
don't
down
know that we
everything.
ever received
Thank
a
Yeah.
denial, not to my knowledge.
you. Okay.
Is the denial something that would have
Right
been
around
emailed?
there. Almost the
Yeah,
same
I'm not
time.
sure.
How would
Okay, keep
how
going.
would we have received the denial? Would that have come through an email? Because out of the three of us, none of us even saw it. So how would we have received that denial?
So, once we went to the online permit system, and you submitted your permit through the system, the, any actions that are taken within the system, you receive an email. So as soon as the permit was denied, whoever the applicant was, would have received an email,
So the originator of the email would have received a correspondence?
the applicant,
I see a shaking of the head. No.
Doug Jones.
You know, there's so much stuff going
Yeah,
around.
I have, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, please proceed. I just had my question.
Sure.
That was it.
So again, it wasn't until Mario took over when we got the stop work order, because up until that point, we thought everything was fine moving forward. And that was August 26th, we received the stop work order. We called and emailed Mario that same day to try to figure out what was going on. On September 10th, we received a response now we have to provide a variance application for the pergola. So that was the first time we had known was on September 10th that we had to now provide a variance application for that pergola, for the setback.
As an accessory structure.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So once we received that information, we reapplied. He wanted us to provide some architectural drawings. We hired an architect to get those built and approved and sent in. We submitted that application to Mario, and then we got on the agenda for the variance meeting in November. And that kind of brings us to current.
To now, yes. Okay, excellent, thank you. Questions for the petitioners?
No, I'm just looking at this communication, and I believe you say it was sent. I believe you say you didn't get it. And I'm looking at the communication, and there's nothing here that says it was sent to the petitioner. So I guess that's not really a question, that's just a comment.
Yes.
Yeah, just to make a point too, we, in no way, shape, or form did we try to circumvent anything. If anything, we tried to build a relationship with the village. We did this with Wine Social over the last 8-9 years. We knew that the previous owner of the restaurant didn't have the best relationship, and so we tried to improve upon that. We fixed, because we didn't even know that the sign out in front of the building was not approved. So we built a monument around that to make that to put that in compliance. And again, we started this process back in March.
Was that part of the on-site inspection? They said you need to make sure that the monument was
That's when we
there?
first found out that wasn't an approved structure, correct?
Okay, and then you immediately moved to...
Within a week, we had
alleviate
that
the issue.
rectified, correct?
Okay,
To make it a monument sign, which is approved, so.
Yes,
We
I
got
know.
that. I
Right.
guess it was not approved for 2 years if the first guy was there. So right when we found out about it, I brought a crew over, we jumped on it, made a monument sign, checked that off the list.
Okay.
So I mean, everything we're doing, we're trying to do with the community. You know, like you said, Wine Social, built the patio there, built the steps from the lower parking lot, not necessarily just for us, for the community, on our dollar, you know? So we're not trying to do stuff that we're not allowed to do. You know, we had guidance. I wouldn't, if I was trying to get away with just doing it, I wouldn't have had Dave Goodlow out there once or twice a week when we built that pergola. There was no hiding anything or sneaking anything. We were just doing what we could do to get customers to keep the place, you know, open. We were brand new right in the summer. We opened up the end of May, and, you know, we're kind of learning the business as we go. And one thing we knew is people weren't sitting out there when it was 80, 90 degrees. Umbrellas did not work. And then when it was full and a rainstorm came in that we didn't know about and the restaurant's full, then what do we do with everybody? You know, so it was just, you know, learning the business, starting out in the summer versus if we'd have started, you know, a few months earlier, it'd have been slower. We could have kind of started walking, running. We had to sprint. And we were doing everything possible just to keep the business going, and this was one of the things that
Understood.
had to be done.
All right, when you talked about on June 18th, when Gage gave that verbal approval and didn't, at that
June
point said
17th, yeah.
that you had to have a permit of any kind, right? And then Dave Goodlow got involved of course, be able to expedite it because that's his job and that's,
Right.
Absolutely.
you know, an
Yep.
advantage to the village. So then you start in the next few days, we'll say prior to this June 26th that this supposed email was supposed to have gone out. July 29th, you get a stop work permit. So you, by
I think it
that
was
date
August-
of
I think it
those
was August
5.
26th was
July
the stop
29th.
work order.
Oh, I did, August 26th.
August 26th.
No, July 29th, there's a stop work order. Yeah, a stop work order on July 29th. You're basically done with that whole building by then, right?
Pretty much.
In that 5 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Except for some improvements, we wanted to have it fully covered, more to keep the rain out. But yes, there were things we were going to do continually, but we did stop at that point.
Yeah, but
Correct.
basically it was pretty much done.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to see this?
Yes, please. We only got one copy.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Do we
Okay. Oh, we are?
make a motion or?
Okay. Do we have anything else for the petitioner is basically the question. Do we have any more questions for the petitioner? No?
Okay,
Anything else?
thank you.
No?
you.
All right. Next, we'll take receipt of public comments. State your name, come on up. Maximum 3 minutes.
Before we start this, I would like to make a motion to read in our, I'm not going to read every single 110, 111 letters. So I would like to make a motion to put the 110 support letters and 1 opposition letter into our packet and
Record.
document that into record.
I'll second.
We have a motion and support. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Dominic Mosheri Companies. Thank you for having me rather. Complicated chain of events, for sure. Mr. Gibb, thank you for everything you had to say, very informative. I want to say that as the direct neighboring property owner to the south, we have no issue with this whatsoever. Laura mentioned in her comments that this does not detract from health, safety, and welfare. Very important. Any village municipal official should keep that into consideration for any decision they're making, okay? As far as a 25-foot setback, that has a lot to do with the water's edge protection. Anything on the water's edge is protected by Eagle. That's their jurisdiction. So their seawall, their docks. So anything having to do with water protection, water's edge protection is the jurisdiction of Eagle. And again, I just want to reiterate that being a great neighbor, we're happy to have them in this community. Lake Orion is the biggest amenity that the village has, and we need to, build upon that. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with them.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Come on up. State your name, address.
They wrote a letter to
Good evening. Christian Mills, 121 South Broadway. I just had a few points to make
Christian, I
here.
don't think the mic's working, you just gotta be loud.
Oh, Christian Mills, 121 South Broadway. I'm a local entrepreneur, developer here. So I have a little bit different perspective on this that I think is really important for you to consider. Number one, when we start a project, and these guys clearly, they're not developers, right? So they try to follow a process. The process is a little flawed from what I can see. And I think the village and the township has obligation, when they sit in front of someone, especially a business owner, and there's duress and there's timeframes, and they shake their head and say, I think this will go through if you do this. I think the township and the village has a responsibility to honor that. I don't see in this case that they're trying to circumvent or that they're trying to have some abuse. They really sat down, they said, okay, tell us what to do. Here's what we'd like to do. And you had two parties the village and the township, give them a verbal nod. I think this will work. And so to the extent that there's approvals, to the extent that there's inspections, and so not being developers, of course they're going to build, right? So I think the representatives of the township and the village have an obligation, especially to someone who isn't a developer. I think if you went to Mosheri and you said, hey, here's a verbal nod, they have enough experience to say, no, I'm going to get a permit, I'm going to have it in writing. So I think your word and the representatives are important. And I think you should honor that. If someone came up and there was no contrary evidence that, Mr. David, sorry, I'll put my glasses on, that they didn't at those meetings approve it. The process is also flawed in that the denials, according to you, were not even emailed. So what else are they going to do? They're going to move forward. So that's number one. I think number two, they've acted in good faith. They didn't just start swinging hammers and hope to kind of blast through it with Lake Orion relationships. Like, they really handled things appropriately the way that we would want them to. And if the process was easier, and if the communication was more direct, if you got a denial immediately and you said, okay, denial, what was it? It was 1 foot short. Okay, change it to 175 feet. Let's sign off on it. It would have just gone through, but that's not what happens. The process takes another month and another month and another month, and they've got a business to operate, and they've got people to come, and they have approvals. So I think the township and the village has some responsibility in this manner. And so the last piece is I really think the process here is set up so you can correct that. And tonight is a meeting where I think everyone has spoken. It's really, none of this is harmful, except to the people who've invested millions of dollars in our community to build the first restaurant on the lake to hope that it's successful. So I would state, if we found out that they just built something without approval or conversations or trying to follow a process, that would be worthy of a no. But in this particular situation, I think you can only vote to approve this, my opinion.
Thank you.
Time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We're going to get a line. Okay, good.
Hi, Chuck Jones, 2842 Aurora Drive. I'm Doug's older brother. And I'm not a businessman, I'm not a developer, I manage a sales team, which means I know people and I know my brother, and you don't need me to try and convince you that he's an honorable person. I think the fact that he has responsibly run a business, Wine Social, for nearly a decade in the village does that for him. He's clearly wants to be a good partner for the community, has been a good partner for the community, and would absolutely continue to be a good partner for the community if given the chance. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jack Lovett. I live at 573 Bellevue. I have a text chain with the owner of the property for Waterside Social. If you don't mind, I'm going to read something into the record for you. He said, thank you for your time, and I'm sorry we were out of town and unable to attend this meeting in person. We are the owners. From the beginning, our goal has been simple: to contribute to the Lake Orion community in a meaningful way. This is not just a restaurant, it has become a gathering place that reflects the culture, energy, and pride of a village where people dream to live, visit, and belong. The pergola that was approved by Gage, who is no longer with the village, was part of that vision. We acted in good faith based on the approval because the pergola is not just a structure, it's the place where the community connects. These are the most sought-after seats because they allow people without boats or lake access to finally enjoy the beauty of our waterfront. It is the inclusive heart of the property. Waterside Social has created something special here. Every day we see families, friends, and neighbors filling the space because it adds something valuable to their lives. It has brought talented chefs, servers, bartenders, and hospitality professionals into Lake Orion, people who elevate our culture and make this village more livable. Restaurants like this enrich communities. They bring vibrancy, creativity, and connection. The previous restaurant failed because it did not have enough seating to survive. The pergola corrected that. Without it, the business simply cannot support the demand from the community, the very demand that shows how much residents value this space. We are committed to being good partners to Lake Orion. We are committed to contributing to the growth, culture, and the overall experience of living here. Waterside Social has become a place people talk about, a place they want to bring friends, a place that strengthens community identity. We are asking the board to honor the approval that was given in the initial meeting and allow the business to continue providing something that clearly matters to the people of Lake Orion. The pergola is essential not only to the operation, but for the community experience that has made this restaurant a success. At the end of the day, the community has already cast its vote because the pergola seating is full every day, and that is exactly where people want to be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Why did they write you this long text?
Yeah, it's a long text.
No, I mean, what occurred that
Well, I mean,
prompted them to write you a big, long text that said all that?
because I told them about the case that was coming before you guys today. I think it's important that they
Okay.
hear.
No, I didn't catch that part. I just said, here's a text I got
Yeah,
from them.
so it's Kevin Molnaric and Jeremy Molnaric who own the property. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
They think it's from them. You meant that from the landlord.
Oh, the landlord, yes, the
Yeah,
landlord, the
yeah.
actual
Yeah,
property.
that's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, come on up.
I didn't see anybody else, sorry.
go ahead.
Matt Pfeiffer, 497 Bellevue. Some great presentations today, and thank you to you guys for your work. I know that sometimes it can be difficult and thankless, so we appreciate you. It's obvious by this room that there's a lot of support for these folks, and the support for them is not only because they have this great business in our community, it's because of what they've done in the community for a decade in their other business. And one of the things that I think is pretty apparent, and I could see you guys picking at it as well, is communication pace from the village at times can be challenging. Village was a 4-day work week during that time. We had a one day a week building official. And when you see lapses in time on some of these emails and responses, even the email that we don't know if it ever went or not, I would think it could be provided and printed out pretty easily if it was there. In terms of the denial, shows some culpability just in the system itself. And I would encourage the village to look at the system and try and tighten things up. And I think going back to 5 days was one of those steps. So it's clear that there's some issues with flow when it comes to the village dealing with residents and businesses, and I think that is part of the reason that we're here tonight. I think it's clear that the community supports this business, and I think that it's clear that the approval by this board for the owners to go forward has no detrimental effect on anybody and doesn't create a precedent that is going to create a lot of problems going forward just based on the amount of, we don't have a lot of space for restaurants to be built on the lake. So all that being said, I just would implore the board to take all those things into account, as I know you are, and I know you have a tough job and you have rules to follow. But I think for all those reasons, you guys have a pretty clear path to be able to help get this project completed, and then to maybe give some insights back to the village in terms of processes that could be tightened up and could be made to be more efficient and quite frankly, much more friendly to the residents and to the businesses in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
What I'd like to say is just the integrity.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Robert Krefsky, 852 Island Point. The integrity of Doug and his partners amazes me because I shoot the fireworks on Lake Orion.
And we have struggled the last few years to keep shooting the fireworks on Lake Orion because it's very hard to raise money. Well, Doug got a hold of a couple of my articles, you know, looking for money, looking for people to help, and he immediately got a hold of me. And now Doug and their partners are involved in helping raise money to keep the fireworks going on Lake Orion, which is a tremendous thing for Lake Orion. I think most people on Lake Orion love the fireworks. And I just wanted to point out that this is the type of guy, or, you know, a group of people that will help the community. I mean, he was just opening a business, but he immediately says, I'm going to help you do this because we want to keep it going. And I think you guys should know that also. The integrity of these guys is amazing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Stephen Novak. I live at 220 Bellevue. We've had a boat on the lake for 20 years. We've been in here. We moved to Lake Orion in '99, and it's been a great experience for us. And in all those years, everyone's always talked about, wouldn't it be great to have a restaurant on Lake Orion? And now that we have that, I think it's important that we really embrace it and give it the most attention that we can to make it available for the most people possible, because in our community, we call it, we're living as a vacation, and what is more like a vacation than seeking out waterfront dining? I think it's really important to bring the community, not just the people on the lake, but the village, the township, and Oxford's going to be jealous, Clarkson's going to be jealous, and we're just going to have the best place in the area. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Scott Jones, not related to Doug or his older brother that is here today. 2767 Aldrin Drive. I'm here to speak in support of the variance for Waterside Social, sharing a perspective not just as a resident, but based on professional background in two specific areas. First, I served for 3 years on the Planning Commission for the City of Clawson, so I understand the difficult balance between zoning codes and the community benefit and the challenges that you guys face today. Second, I also understand the operational realities. I spent the early part of my career working my way up through the restaurant business, eventually landing an opportunity as a general manager for a locally owned restaurant in Granville, Michigan. I know firsthand that in this industry, the margins are incredibly narrow. The difference that weather-protected seating makes can genuinely determine the lifespan of a restaurant. If you lose the patio revenue every time it rains, or the sun is too hot, the math just simply wouldn't work. And frankly, if Doug and Heather, who are experienced, high-quality operators, can't make this restaurant thrive because of these restrictions, who else is going to look at this investment and say, I can do that? We risk leaving a prime waterfront location empty. Another unique perspective is that I grew up in East Jordan, Michigan. And just up the road, we had a waterfront staple called The Landing in Ironton. It was very similar to what Waterside Social is trying to achieve. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was a destination. People would boat in from surrounding communities, spend the day, and rely on that spot for shelter and a meal. It anchored the local tourism economy. By approving this variance, you will allow Waterside Social to become that same kind of economic engine for Lake Orion. Finally, I just want to speak to the character of Doug and Heather Jones, whom I've known for just a little over 5 years. These are high-quality individuals with an incredible desire to help build this community. They have sent their daughters to Lake Orion schools, invested in multiple businesses here. They have the greatest intentions of building a stronger sense of community and driving foot traffic to our downtown amenities. Everything they do with an incredible amount of follow-through. If they say they will manage this outdoor space responsibly, they will. Putting my planning commission hat back on, aesthetics matter. A professionally built timber pergola, or whatever it's built out of, is far superior to a slab with mismatched umbrellas that are dangerous in the wind. The structure is safe, it's attractive, and it's essential for the business to survive. I urge you to vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Two more coming up.
Two more.
Just
doesn't matter which podium.
No, but just make sure you speak up because the microphones are not working.
Okay. Sue Albert, 228 South Broadway, and I'm a neighboring property, and I would just like to give my perspective on this because I'm sure they're wonderful people and they have a wonderful restaurant. But some of my concerns are about the permit issue and whether one was, whether they got a permit or not. So there's a promise, there's a way to apply, and so where there's a variance meeting where we can give our input about how that affects us because we're a neighboring property. So I did reach out to Gage because I did notice construction going on in July 17th. And it's kind of a back and forth. This is confusing because the village oversees outdoor, the township oversees indoor. So I reach out to one and they say, oh, we don't know what's going on here. You have to check out with the township. I call the township. They say, well, we don't know. It's the village. So I think that has to be resolved just so people can give their input. So I reached out to, Darwin. I reached out to Darwin asking about if there had been any permits issued. And he said that the township issues the permits and for me to contact them. And he only saw a change of use permit from the old restaurant to the new restaurant. So he didn't see any other permits being issued or being applied for. So that's a concern for me. It's like one side, the village doesn't know what the township's doing, the township doesn't know what the village is doing. I'm just trying to get some answers so I can give input how it affects us living there. So, and then also to say that the structure's not permanent, that's not true because they were out there digging holes 4 feet. Well, I don't know how deep, I didn't go look. But so there's added structure to that. Let me see what else. And then, so I'm just curious what the usage is going to be in the wintertime and if there's going to be more excessive noise carrying over to our property or to neighboring properties. And so I would just hope that they would be good neighbors and watch, sound. I see there's outdoor televisions that are set up out there now, and they've had music in the past. And just one other item about
you're right.
screening. If we could have screening on the north side of the property to help with any sound that might carry out, because there's screening on the south. Not just 2-foot arborvitaes, but 10-foot would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, and gentleman in the back.
David Goodlow. I would like to talk about just real quickly that we have been working extensively with Mario and the village to improve our services for the permits and how we communicate. So this has been an agenda item. This kind of brought a lot of things to light for us. So I do want you to know that we do take it very seriously, and Darwin and I have been working together with Mario on improving that process. And number two, I think, yeah, you could have Santa Claus up here going for a permit, but one thing you have to look at is the property, and the difficulties that it exists. That's what we sometimes get away from when we are in our position that we're in. We've got to make sure we're looking at those practical difficulties that are laid out in your packet. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jim Cummins, 228 Atwater Street, Village of Lake Orion. This one's not working.
That doesn't work.
No.
So,
Gotta go louder, Jim.
well, as you know, you have a difficult decision to make tonight. although if we break it down into small pieces, it makes it much easier to get through it. I know the position you're in. I've spent over 19 years up there in this community, and both on your zoning board and your planning commission. And I do not believe that the petitioner this evening ever had the intent to defraud or do anything that he thought was not acceptable to do. So I think when you look at this, you need to break it down into pieces. One, does it commit, or does it present a detriment to the community? I don't believe that it does. I don't see any detriment that will result if you granted this variance this evening. Two, is the public health, safety, and welfare protected? Of course it is. It's not infringed upon whatsoever. And would the granting of this variance diminish the spirit and intent of the ordinance? I don't think that any of us can answer yes to that question. I don't think that it diminishes the integrity of the spirit and intent of the ordinance in any way. But it does, in fact, protect the property rights of the owners and anybody else that might one day come before this board for the same reasons. And we have many things that happen in the construction industry today. No one can say that there's not miscommunication between governmental units, between municipalities, even with planners and architects. We occasionally might have something that we overlook. So I think that when you break this request down tonight, I don't think it's as difficult as everybody's looking at it to be. I think there's a simple solution, and that solution lies with you this evening in making the right decisions. We thank you for your respectful consideration with this item tonight. Thank you.
Next.
Mel Kinjorski, 2605 Browning Drive. I'd like to thank everybody here. Everybody's doing their due diligence. Petitioners have done everything in great faith, good faith. I've never really been on Lake Orion before besides driving by it and seeing it. When the restaurant opened, I went there and I go, wow, this is really nice. To see the lake, that view, and to have a restaurant in Lake Orion, where I've never ate before on a lake in Lake Orion area. And I thought, this is really awesome. This is a nice place. And like to eat outside, but this summer was a pretty hot summer. So I ate inside, but it took a while because it was pretty busy. And don't like to eat outside in the sun because, as we all know, it's a hot summer. And the umbrellas were taken. But one incident, I don't think it was mentioned. One day our neighbors were over there having dinner, and just like that, the winds popped up. I remember it because it knocked a lot of branches down in the neighborhood. The wind kicked up, and they were sitting outside under the umbrella. The umbrellas flew off, went flying. Luckily, they didn't hit anybody. They grabbed their food and had a box and left. You know, to have umbrellas instead of a pergola or a roof to sit under, get away from the sun, it's definitely a safety thing. You know, if those umbrellas would have hit somebody, there could be lawsuits, probably would be, probably against them, might have to close up the restaurant. I don't know if the village would be involved, but I think it's a major issue by having umbrellas, because you don't know, because that day, it was amazing how that wind just kicked up out of nowhere. So I say, let them go forth with their plans, and mainly for safety reasons, and keep the beauty of that restaurant and for everybody to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
If nobody else, then we'll move on to the recommendation of the planner and/or staff. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you. Based on the findings, which I can summarize if that would be helpful to the board.
Normally we have it in our packet. I don't think, did
It's on.
these make it in the packet?
It's on here.
Exactly.
The report that's in your packet just lays out the criteria and findings under each. It doesn't have a formal recommendation. The formal recommendation would be to grant the dimensional variance for 256 South Broadway. based on the following findings of fact. The restaurant and patio pergola for outdoor dining is a permitted use in the MU mixed-use district. It matches the intent of the district, and the outdoor dining is a common enjoyment as an accessory use to a restaurant. The site plan for the restaurant has been permitted. The third is that screening will be provided by the applicant to create a more natural feature and to soften the frontage along the waterfront. The fourth is that the existing footprint of the structure limits the availability of the applicant to construct outdoor dining along the waterfront, and that is a pre-existing condition that was not self-created. The proposed patio and pergola does not impair the view sheds of adjacent property owners. The proposal does not negatively impact the public health, safety, and welfare. The size of the pergola is the minimum requested. It is to be constructed over the existing patio concrete area. And the pergola structure does not extend the permanent footprint of the building. Those are 8 different criteria. You, of course, could add any additional findings of fact, but the recommendation would be to grant the requested dimensional variance.
Great, thank you. Mr. McClary, do you have anything?
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to board deliberation and action.
Okay, so what she read is what we're used to seeing.
Excuse me, the deliberation does have to be done out in the public.
What we read, what she just read, is what we're used to seeing.
Yes.
That's not what's in here, and that's not, what was that last meeting?
That's why I asked.
Right.
Yes,
So that would have been very helpful, because that's what we're used to.
correct. There's 5 findings of fact in here.
Right,
Yeah.
but not,
Not the 8 that you
Exactly.
mentioned. Correct.
so I hear everybody. We've been talking about this since last month when this applicant was here. I understand, I hear everybody that's talking. I understand the topics. I understand it's the business impact, the business hardship, the revenue, the commitment to the village, the fundraising support, great applicants, great spouses, probably great kids, I'm sure. The beauty and the position and the restaurant and everything, I hear all of that. When we, as a board, grant a variance, we have to follow guidelines because either a precedent is set or we are setting a precedent. So in this, I guess what I'd like to say is I'm in support of granting this, and I'm happy to make a motion. Not because of everything I just said and heard and read. It's because they did every single thing they were supposed to do. They gave verbal permission. I believe they didn't get what they were going to get. It was completely built based on goodwill and commitment. I think the village bears responsibility for the hardship they find themselves in.
I would agree with that statement, and I think we got a couple of lessons learned that came out of this meeting, which is understood from a guy who just built the house down the street, because I ran into some of those issues as well, so especially the meeting or having somebody in there one day a week, that was difficult.
And going forward, I feel like it's a precedent not for the variance. It's not for the distance from the water. So if there is another restaurant or building on the water in the future, I don't feel, I'm not saying I will approve that variance if they say, well, Waterside Social got it.
Yeah.
Because that's not why I feel Waterside Social should get it. I feel like they should get it because the hardship of what they were told, and they went ahead and did everything they were supposed to do with guidance and support of the township, which I believe Dave Goodlaw has very vast experience with going forward in this goodwill kind of procedure. So
I also liked in the new findings of fact that that we were being a little more neighborly in putting natural features on those findings of facts and in hope that it would deaden some of the sound for the neighbors. So that was also a positive in the additional findings of fact that I was pretty content with.
Well, and from everything I've heard too, I can't imagine the owners are not going to be open to any complaints of noise or
Yeah.
crowding or spilling or parking where you're not supposed to. I just haven't heard that or seen that or experienced that, so I think that's doubtful that that wouldn't be dealt with.
It was never an issue about the pergola. In our last meeting, we couldn't determine whether there was any permits ever pulled or given. And that's why we asked them to come back or to table it so that it didn't get, so we didn't vote no on it. And so that we could bring it back up and get it solved. I think Mr. McCleary very simply gave us the facts and, sorry, I forgot your name. But,
Oh, Dave Gidlaw.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's what you told us, but we had no way of knowing. Now we know it should pass.
So is there an actual variance that we have to vote on?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
the
Yep.
25.
Is it the right
It's-
variance?
It's in the motion, yeah.
It's in the motion.
Is it what you want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not,
They
with all the papers moving around, I
yeah, it's what they want.
wanted to make sure that
It's what's there,
They obviously have to follow up with the permitting and make sure it's correct,
yeah.
so.
Okay? Are you making a motion, Mary?
I am, but don't we have to close the discussion?
No.
Oh, no.
Before we do that, I am leaning towards supporting this. However, the paperwork and the communication has got to be a lot better between village and the township. Doesn't matter, it doesn't matter
Point.
who's pointing who. Just paperwork. Go back to, if you have to get a fax machine, for those that remember a fax machine.
What?
Yeah, or carrier pigeon, just better communication. And that's what I've got. So,
Okay.
with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'm delighted to make a motion to grant an 11-foot, 5-inch variance from zoning ordinance section 12.02, minimum required waterfront setback standard for the property at 256 South Broadway Street, parcel ID number 09-11-226-036, also known as Waterside Social. This variance approval is based on findings of fact, pardon me? As stated by the planner. I'm sorry, based on findings of fact, as stated by the planner.
Second.
What about, not setting a precedent?
Pardon me?
Not setting a precedent for cases forward, or
Sure,
do you want to add that?
I sure can.
Okay.
Due to the planner and the village, it's it's not self-created and allows the applicant to build as it is now, confirmed and witnessed and permitted by the township and built accordingly. This is not to create a precedent, but to allow permission to right a hardship that was not self-created by the applicant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Question?
Roll call?
Roll call, please?
Matheson,
Yes.
Loriant,
Yes.
Shaker Crawford.
Yes.
Balo,
Yes.
Putz.
yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. This is amazing, this community support.
We're not done yet.
We're still in a meeting.
We are not done yet, so if you're going to talk, please go outside.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Hey, you, how are you doing?
You're welcome, Doug.
Good, good.
That's what I've never seen pictures.
Where do we got to go?
Oh, no problem. I'm used to it.
It's quiet enough. Okay, moving on to the next item is second public comment.
Please
on
step
up.
forward.
George Dandelides, 226 Bellevue. First of all, I want to thank you guys for serving. Having spent a couple of years in the Planning Commission and now on Village Council, I understand that it's not always easy, and we're put in positions where we have to make difficult decisions. I believe the decision that you made tonight is the correct one, and I think you made it for the right reasons. It's clear to me that there's some things that we can shore up within our village processes. Communication was mentioned multiple times tonight. You know, listening to all the facts, I'm not sure all the facts were on the table earlier. There was certainly confusion here, and I think that we, the village, have a responsibility here to better our process. And I guess the message that I wanted to give is that at Monday's council meeting, I'm going to ask that this get put on the agenda from a communication standpoint, and how can we improve our process? Because I think we've got a responsibility to do that in the village. And I understand the township's got a piece of it, but I think we got to get our act together, and we've got to worry about what we're doing, and then we can worry about other problems. But I think we got to get our own act together, and I'm going to take that to council on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get a clap from all of us, I think. Thank you.
Anybody else? Then, yes, Mr. McCary.
I'd like to make a few comments.
Sure.
First of all, it's completely within the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals to make determinations on the merits of a case and whether an applicant meets the criteria outlined in state law and in our own zoning ordinance for for receiving variances. I do take exception to the comments that have been made tonight by members of this board, by one of our council members, by our DDA executive director, that this is a problem that was created by the village or the township. It was not. And somehow that's gotten overlooked by this board. The problem wasn't created by the village or the township. The problem was created by the applicant who applied for a permit for an outdoor bar, received a conditional approval. The main condition was coming back before this board and getting the necessary variances before constructing. That didn't happen. The next day, or actually the same day that they got that conditional approval, applied to the village for the pergola, and that was denied. They applied on June 18th. It was denied a week later. They went ahead and applied to the township for a building permit for that pergola without the zoning approval. They did not get a building permit from the township. They went ahead and constructed the pergola. So let's be clear about the facts here. We all support this business. We love the restaurant. But the problem wasn't with the village or the township. The problem was with a business owner who chose to go ahead with construction of facilities that they didn't have approval to construct. Now, I think this board needs to stick with the criteria that you need to look at in granting variances. I provided you with the documentation of what happened and the procedures. The village did not err. Some of the comments that were made by one board member was that the village gave some approvals. The village did not give approval for this pergola. We are taking hearsay that Mr. Belko gave verbal approval. The village does not do any business on verbal approvals. We document everything. We issue documented permits, or we deny those permits, but we don't give any verbal approvals. So I just want to make it clear that, and I'm going to welcome this discussion at Monday night's meeting, because this needs to be clear. These types of things need to stop. The vilification of the village needs to stop. So let's stay with the criteria that we have here. I do appreciate the work of this board, working diligently to try to work through many issues dealing with this particular application. But the village didn't err in anything that it did. Gage Belko, who is not here to defend himself, from all the documentation I've seen, did not err in his decisions on these issues, with one exception. I think it was a mistake probably to grant conditional approval for the outdoor bar based on the applicant going forward and getting a variance from this board. That should not have happened. We should have denied the permit and then have them apply for a variance and then come back to us. That was an error. As Mr. Goodloe has pointed out, we have been working very hard to try to streamline our processes, make them as timely as we can. We continue to work on that. But I think that is work that is happening in good faith. But that had nothing to do with this case tonight. And so I just want to make sure we clear the record on that. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Am I able to comment on,
I was going to too.
Oh,
is that acceptable?
You can in the next agenda item if you'd like,
Okay.
under board member comments.
all right. The next item is,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, there may be some other public comments.
please.
So the only comment I have to the previous public comment, although I'm speaking to the chair, is that to say that that the village doesn't give verbal approval and did not give verbal approval basically contradicts the building official in the room that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, that was in the room, that witnessed that approval, and the applicants. Now, yes, applicants, we understand, sometimes might hear what they want to hear. I don't believe our building official hears what he wants to hear. I believe if he said that that Gage approved it at that meeting, that it did. So for the village manager to say that that doesn't happen and that didn't happen, now it might not have legal standing, but again, as was referenced earlier, we have applicants that are just everyday folks, like I'm an everyday folk, and I don't live in the world of building departments and building code. And when they heard the building officials, according to and I believe in a court of law, if you have three people that hear something, I believe that does stand up in a court of law, but I'm not a lawyer either, that they said that was approved by the village in that meeting, that there was a verbal approval. So I just would caution any disparity towards that, saying that didn't happen when there's multiple witnesses that did witness that it was approved by the representative at the time of the village, which was Gage. That's it.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for non-agenda public items? Seeing none, I will close it and move on to board member comments. Mr. Potts.
My only comment is, it's tough to get a document handed to you while we're sitting up here with 50 people in the room and trying to figure out who said what. So I know it's communication is hard, and I'm not sure how the systems work. And it's good that you found the documents, but it would be nice, we talked about it, if we had time to take it, look at it, digest it, and then sit up and be able to discuss it.
Great.
That's it for me.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it for me.
I don't think not being a developer is an excuse. Okay, I never have. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that's not an excuse. If you're gonna, base something on that, then hire someone that knows what they're doing. I agree, we maybe need to be a little user-friendly, but I don't think you can fault the village or the township because they aren't a developer and they didn't know. But I also don't feel like, I think vilification is a very strong word. We had this meeting a month ago. I talked to Mario 5 times on the phone. He never found anything contrary, or that you brought us today. Not a thing. In fact, at the last meeting, he said he understood how Gage, and I think Gage is, from what I've seen, I've been very impressed with him. He's always done a great job. I've been on this board 6 years. He's been a couple of those years. Mario said, based on it being an appurtenant or detached structure, if you will, if only Gage would have turned the page, he would have seen more verbiage that he wasn't able to just give a verbal approval. So now you can imagine, we kind of hear all that, we see all that documentation. He can't find anything else in the 5 conversations I had with him for tonight, and then it was found. So that was awkward, obviously. I mean, it's great that you found it, and I firmly believe everybody did what they said. You said that it was sent, I believe it. They said they didn't get it, I believe that. I don't know. But I don't want to feel like there's any vilification, because I think in the 6 years I've done this, I think it's maybe once or twice have I not gone ahead and supported what the planner has found. So if in my motion, I gave the impression that I thought there was fault rather than just a hardship, I apologize for that. And I appreciate you finding that information. It was just a bit blindsided based on all the other input that we'd received. So.
That's it?
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Ryan.
I've got nothing tonight.
Dr. Bailey.
Truthfully, my comments are much like Mary's. In understanding that we should have had this information a month ago. And then just to show how the communication is within the village, between the village and the township, we didn't have the information. We should have, a month ago. Nobody could find it. Then all of a sudden, 30 minutes before the meeting, we're getting handed one Xerox copy that we found who knows where. This shows exactly what they're talking about. It has nothing to do with villainizing anyone. It's just, there's a communication issue here. And having a village planner, I'm sorry, but in here just once a week gives it a little bit of a struggle, because if they hit their 8-hour mark or 9 hours, whatever it is that day, they might not have finished up what they did last week, and now you're 2 weeks behind. I just know that because I saw it personally. So The whole statement here that somebody is being villainized, no, it's just we need to figure out how to work our time more efficient. I don't know if we have a person 2 days a week, or you split the time where it's 4 hours one day, 4 hours the next, but whatever it may be, we need to get the communication between the township and the village a little cleaner. And that's it. And I think that would really help. So, and I agree with the other statement. Did they say they got the email? No. Did you say you sent it? Yes. Do we know where it is exactly? It's not in this packet. So it's somewhere in between. And we are on a new system. I've implemented systems. Sometimes they don't always work right the first time, most of the time. So who do you believe? It could be either one. So it's just a matter of, that's why I said the lessons learned. We need to communicate better, and I don't know how we do that through the village council to get things a little more streamlined, and that's what I'd like to see.
The point isn't to fix the blame.
Correct.
The point is to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Identify and fix the problem, and that'll be what I'd like to do. I don't care about the blame.
Yeah.
I just want to figure out how do we get better.
Correct, exactly. Just a brainstorm.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
How about you?
How about me?
Correct.
Okay. I'm not gonna beat up on that. It's the end. I'm tired. I do have a couple other, issues that I wanted to bring up, that I've been bringing up. Seems like since July, about doing a having a meeting or an agenda item on a near future meeting regarding the bylaws and, revamping our agenda look.
Oh, yeah. you
And,
mentioned that last time.
And then adding on and I just forgot how she worded
Can I
it.
add
The
that?
planner summary?
Yes.
Correct.
It used to always be included.
Yes,
Yeah, we're going to change that.
Thank you.
And,
It was beautiful when video was here, by the way.
Yes, she is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay.
so that is my comments for the night.
Well, what's the process for us changing the way the agenda is? How do we,
Do we mark it up and give
I mean,
it
how
to
do
you, we're asking, or can we say just go back the way it was when video was here? It's 6 years ago or 7 years ago? Because it was much.
well, I mean also his, the thing
agenda.
about how, it used to be that we would take it item by item. Like tonight, we only had one item, but when we have two, we open both for public comment, then both for, we
Yeah.
used to just
Your-
deal with one to its fruition, and then
Your
move on.
agenda format is established through your bylaws and rules of procedure.
Right.
So it would be an amendment to your bylaws.
Because they changed.
I don't know if we ever voted on the original, the way it is now, because, like I said, I've been here for 11 years now, and I've never voted on a change to it, but it changed.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it just came with the planner, or, I mean, every time a planner comes, it's slightly different.
Yeah, the format of your agenda is in your bylaws. It outlines how your agendas are going to be handled. So if you want to make a change to how your agenda looks or the flow of your meeting, you would do that through a bylaw
Go through and
change.
mark it up.
But
Okay.
I guess what we're also asking is, how did it get changed? Because it always was a certain way, and it changed to something else, and we didn't vote on it.
I think you adopted formal bylaws not too long ago.
We did?
Let me pull it up real
Okay,
quick.
thank you. You know what he's talking about, right? How you open the whole thing, and then
I must not have been here that night. I think I've only missed 2 in 11 years.
I was here that night either.
Okay.
Let's see. And you're saying you noticed a change when?
Oh, it was this year.
Was
it
it?
was
Because,
the original
because
one.
your bylaws were adopted in December of
2023.
2023.
2 years ago.
Oh, we haven't had this for that
Yeah, we have.
long. Yeah.
We probably have, we just haven't met that. many
Well, maybe
times.
there's not been too often two things. So
Okay.
it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, correct.
So Article 5 of your bylaws indicates your order of business, which is basically your agenda format. So it would be, you can make a change, you just need to amend your bylaws.
Okay.
And that would take a agenda item on another future meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And let me see if you've, so your bylaws also tell you how you need to amend them. The bylaws can be amended by at least 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the BZA, provided notice of the proposed changes given at a previous meeting.
Of course, okay.
Okay, thank you.
We just mark it up and make a
It was
proposal.
not around.
Then can I make a motion to notice for the next meeting, or,
You cannot make a motion on non-agenda items.
okay. So could I add this?
In the comments, it's something that can be relayed to the planner to throw on a future agenda item.
Okay. Then I'd like to, as a comment, make that comment, please.
Put it on record.
And then can I follow that up with a?
Yeah, you're still in
agenda?
board member comments.
What's that?
You're still in board member comments, so if you have
Okay.
anything else to add, you can.
But is there something I can email follow up with to, or that's fine?
I mean, if you'd like to send an email to the planner, but there's nothing formal minutes-wise that need to be done.
Okay.
All right, with that, I have nothing else, other than, since we're not meeting till possibly till January, wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and whatever else you celebrate in December.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
And with
Motion to
that-
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Opposed?